Hello, and welcome to episode 41 of The Herald's Horn. On this episode, me and my co-hosts are taking a bit of a retrospective look at Aetherdrift, talking about some of our favorite cards, our least favorite cards, and some of our overall vibes for the set. Of course, we also had to talk about our favorite art. Each one of us has a completely different vibe going on. It's a pretty good time. We also talk about the new Secret Lair drop, upcoming Tarkir Dragonstorm. Spoiler, we're all really excited for it. And we also have a few different bits and bobs of news to discuss. Without any further ado, let's just jump right into this episode. Hello, welcome to episode 41 of The Herald's Horn, part of the One Shot Network. My name is Cal Jones, and today I am joined by the wonderful Emma. Say hello, Emma.
Hello, Emma.
Emma joins us here today. Once again, it's been a second, but it's been even longer. Emma has been on the show kind of recently, but it has been even longer since we had both Emma and Dan on the show. I'm joined by Dan. Say hello, Dan.
Oh my god. Yes, it's me, everybody. Calm down. Hi, I'm here.
Welcome, Dan. Welcome, Emma. It's time to have a great show. Let's run the theme song.
Oh, wow. Good energy.
And welcome back. As always, we are going to jump straight into the news. But first, I want to thank all of the people who support us over on Patreon. Thank you so much, patrons. I want to shout out our first chair patron, especially Bald Rald. If you are interested in supporting the show, check out the Patreon link in the episode description, in the YouTube description. There is exclusive content over there, cut stuff from the show, Cal's Corner, which is a podcast with just me yapping, extra questions with our guests, all that kind of stuff. If that kind of thing interests you, go ahead and check it out. I'll even send you some stickers in the mail. All right, MagicCon Vegas badges are on sale. The next super large Magic the Gathering event will be taking place in the City of Sin on June 20th through June 22 in 2025. Join me there. I'll be there. I'm not going to be doing much except for helping the one and only Tim, aka Gold Sabertooth, sling his wares. That's my new hobby at these big events. But I will be there. I would love to see you there. Emma and Dan, I assume you will not be there.
Probably not. It's a bit hard to get into America at the minute as a non-American.
Oh, that's very true. That's very true.
I have to be very selective on where I go at one time.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest, summertime in Las Vegas sounds like
that's the other reason.
Less than ideal.
That is definitely my concern.
I am British.
Yes.
You would, yes, just burst into flames.
Yeah, you would just spontaneously combust. And even having been there in, I think the first big Vegas event I went to was in like late September. And even then, you went outside and it felt like you were walking behind a bus, you know? It's like, felt like you felt like you were walking into just like the world's most humid air. I cannot imagine what it'll be like in June. I will be doing my best to stay inside. But if you are interested in joining me in the world's hottest, muggiest MagicCon of all time.
That is in Florida.
That is in Florida. I don't know. Vegas might be worse.
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be like 110 plus, but thankfully they are not holding it outside. You do get to stay inside while you play Magic.
If you are interested in going, now is a good time to start planning. Early bird tickets are on sale now. I believe they are a little bit cheaper than the non-early bird tickets. So if you're planning on going, go ahead and grab your ticket now. I'm not affiliated or anything. I would just love to see you there. Yes, you. Personally, you. Come and say hello to me at the Gold Sabertooth booth. Speaking of big Magic the Gathering events, Magic Spotlight. We had a Magic Spotlight event, Modern, in Utrecht. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Utrecht. So
Utrecht.
You pronounce the U as double O's.
Sure. Utrecht.
No.
Utrecht.
Utrecht.
There we go.
Hey, there we go. It had 1,576 players. Really big success as far as some of these events go. And I have 2 articles concerning this that I think you should read. The Magic.gg team does a really good job of covering these events, making them interesting, all that kind of stuff. You should read the Frank Karsten article covering the overall event, what was going on, how it went, all that kind of stuff. There's also an awesome article, the latest edition of the week that was by Corbin Hostler, focusing on Rayo Porjan, the winner who took it down on Orzhov Blink, which for those of you unfamiliar is like kind of a Death and Taxes deck, kind of not. Really makes use of Overlord of the Baelmerk and a ton of other awesome new, really efficient white and black cards. But he is a player with a really interesting story. He has been grinding out competitive Magic for most of the last 20 years. And so has always been in love with it, always found great love in the space, and now has a great feather in the cap of his 20-plus year-long grind as the winner of Magic Spotlight Modern. He got to take home a good chunk of change, and I saw like so many play booster boxes as well. He won like 24 boxes or something. It was
a case of Modern Horizons 3 and a case of Modern Horizons 2.
Okay. Yeah,
so like
that's a lot of boxes.
Along with like the 10, 20k you got and the PT invite. So there was a lot of cool prizes on top of that.
Emma, you were once again our reporter on the floor there at the event. How was your time at Magic Spotlight?
So it was interesting. I think the best way to describe it, it felt like a Magic event from 10 years ago. It like felt
very GP-esque.
Yeah, like I don't want to use the Grand Prix wording because I know Wizards are trying to distance themselves from it because these are Magic Spotlight events. But it did definitely feel like a Grand Prix. And unfortunately, when you talk about Magic events that were organized 10 years ago, there were some logistic issues. I could tell Fanfinity were kind of new to this. So some things didn't fire quite right, especially with like the side events and like the creator stuff. The main event was great because there was like 1,600 people. They were in like a separate hall at the back. There was literally just like 2 rooms. So it just felt like very old school GP, which was nice because we don't really get those anymore because a lot of events are American, it's all glitz and glamour, it's all these Magic cons. But yeah, it was nice to be at an event that was fairly low key and you could just wander around for an hour and you're pretty much done. You don't really get those.
That sounds
anymore.
Like a fun time at least.
Yeah, it was cool to see some modern coverage was great. You could watch the coverage. They had like a TV and a watch area. You know, you see like Frank Carson and Simon Nielsen wandering out, talking to people. It was cool. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Sounds like a really fun time. I've really been looking for, I talked about this a little bit on the last episode. I do kind of miss that kind of older style of event that feels like that. And sometimes the SCG cons that like pass through Columbus or something like that have kind of felt like that.
Yeah,
but it feels like those are, but not big enough. It's like there's too small. If it was like one size bigger, it would feel right.
Yeah, it was definitely unique. If you were playing the main event, that was the reason you were there. Sure, there wasn't really much else to do outside of that. They had like a command zone and stuff, but it wasn't big. They didn't really advertise it. It was just there. So like if you're looking to go to one of these, especially in Europe, you might need to really think about, you know, am I going to play the main event? Because there might not be anything else for you. Granted, the next one's in Liverpool, which I believe is the end of October, early November. Format hasn't been decided, but Fanfinity had plenty of time to change stuff up, promote it a bit better, and make it a bit more casual, along with this big competitive event in the background.
Mm. It sounds like they hit the mark on the competitive edge pretty well, though. The viewing area is something that we've criticized. Well, criticized might be a little bit harsh, but something that we critiqued the Magic cons for in the past is there's not really enough room to actually sit down and watch people play Magic. So that seems pretty sweet.
They could definitely have done with more chairs. They did fill up pretty quickly. The production quality Fanfinity do is excellent because they've run all the Lorcana challenges, they run all the Yu-Gi-Oh! And the Pokemon events, so their production quality is very good. It's very refined. They just need to kind of think about what Magic people want. I feel like Fanfinity are like a jack of all trades when it comes to TO organizing. They're not specialized in one thing. And there comes a point where you kind of need to start being specialized, especially with something as big as Magic. Mm-hmm.
Yep, that definitely makes a whole lot of sense, and it has been interesting to see kind of from a distance the evolution of like the European TO scene, because it seems like there have been a couple different big names that have come and gone. It has seemed like there, at least for a while now, there's never been like a big contender, and it seems like when someone gets big enough to try it out, they almost don't get enough of a chance to figure it out. Because, your first couple big events as a TO, if you've never run a big event up before or have done one or two before, there's going to be some problems to iron out. I know the Legacy, the Eternal Weekend, Europe TO, a lot of people were not all that happy with their performance, but they went in the wrong direction. So it's been interesting to watch from a distance and see different European TOs try stuff out, try different things out, see how it goes, maybe get a chance to try again, maybe not.
I mean, they need to, because Europeans love playing competitive Magic. Mm-hmm. It is one of the most competitive regions in the world. Mm-hmm. Like, Modern's a stale format. You've got 1,600 people playing a super stale format. That is like evidence alone that Europeans will play Magic, regardless of the format. Like,
they just want to jam.
They want to jam. Strong Legacy and Pauper scene as well. Like, you put something on, people will turn up. So
yeah, not to mention how much easier it is to travel in Europe as opposed to America, like through public transit and things like that.
Yeah, so. Like I flew from the UK. It was like a 40-minute flight and then a 30-minute train direct to Utrecht. And like the venue is like 5 minutes away from the train station. That is like perfect. You can't ask for better. But yeah, like they've got time to improve. The Magic Spotlight events are just cool in general because you can just basically walk in, pay for entry for an event, and you might get on the Pro Tour. That's a pretty cool story, let's be honest. Like, you don't get that sort of flexibility anymore, so the fact that you can do that is great. I do recommend checking them out as well, because the more people go to these things, the more Wizards will put them on, and they don't happen without voting with your wallet or with your time, in this case. Mm.
Well, speaking of really fun ways to play Magic the Gathering, we have a couple Arena notes here. Two really cool things going on in Arena in the next couple of days. Arena Cube Draft is back now through April 8th. So if you are interested in playing it is kind of a weird cube. It's really powerful in a different way than the Vintage Cube is. The creatures are really powerful. Non-creature spells, not as much. Entry will cost you 4,000 gold or 600 gems. Pretty big overhaul this time around. They've swapped out over a quarter of the cards, largely focusing on cards they consider to be overperformers. And they are, for the first time ever, breaking the singleton rule for the cube, adding in 3 copies of each fetch and 2 copies of each shock. So
that's good.
Everyone is going to have perfect mana.
Seemingly, that's a lot. Like, there's already so many awesome options for your mana base in Modern Magic between Verges, Triomes, Surveil lands, Fetch lands, Shock lands. You have all of those to make the perfect mana base.
There's Singleton. There's Singleton. Each of the Surveil lands at Singleton are already in the cube as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's an, I would say, absurd amount of mana fixing.
Just like, here's my Arena Cube deck with, I don't know, 4 fetches in it.
I'm just going to push for the Landfall deck every time, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just
my gosh,
push on
yeah, you should, right? Yeah. Holy cow.
Let me just play
it
on
seems
that.
like they need to reprint Fast Bond, I guess, is really where we're at with this.
Yeah.
Yep. So I personally will be really, I'll probably be checking out that cube, mainly because one of the, I wouldn't say few, but one of the most unfortunate downsides of being a Mac daily driver is that I cannot easily play Mitgo. So there's way less vintage cube in my life than I would like there to be. So I guess it's time for me to get some Arena Cube drafts in, maybe to satiate the urge. And there is also yet another Arena Direct event taking place this weekend, March 28th through 30th. For those of you who are not familiar, these are usually very high entry, in this case 5,000 gems, sealed events where you can fire as many shots as you want. And then you play until you get 6 wins or 3 losses. If you get to 6 wins, Wizards of the Coast will send you 2 Aetherdrift Play Booster boxes directly to your house in the mail. Just remember that they have a taxable value of $250.
Yeah. Hope you like paperwork.
5,000 gem entry is equivalent to 50 USD, I think.
Roughly. It's also obfuscated. It depends on how many gems you buy all at once.
Sure. And, I guess I'm just saying if you were to go directly to the Arena store and buy them to buy
roughly, yes. Yep. Unless it's about that price if you pay at like the $20 price point, I think. And then if you bought $50 of gems, it's like you get like 6,000 gems for $50 or something like that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they had a deal for that too.
Yeah, they give you bulk discounts, but once again, hard to know because the entire economy of these games is set up such that to entirely obfuscate from you how much real money you're actually spending on every single different thing. So those are some fun arena updates. I'll be checking out the Arena Cube. For you sealed sickos who like to win boxes, you can get your hands on some Aetherdrift boxes starting on March 28th and going through the 30th. Speaking of Aetherdrift, I think it's time for us to move on to this next section here. It's going to be our first ever, I think, set retrospective. We spend a lot of time talking about sets in the run up to them and during preview season and even during, maybe right around the release of a set. Oh, how's it landed? How's the limited going? But we never have really taken the time to then look back on a set and say, hey, how was this? We were excited about it. We weren't excited about it. What was good? What was bad? And so, as the checkered flag waves on Aetherdrift and Tarkir is on the horizon, I wanted to take a short look again at Aetherdrift, including the Commander Precons. How do we feel about it? What are our favorite cards, our least favorite cards, and our favorite pieces of art? But we're going to go ahead and start out with the general vibes. Dan, what were your general vibes around Aetherdrift? So bad that you haven't touched the set at all?
No, it's certainly not that bad. I do think that the set is rather stinky in general. I do have a few favorite cards from the set that we'll get to. But yeah, it is a real... It's just ended up being a real middling set. The cards aren't very exciting for the most part. There's a couple that I said I like I said, but yeah, the cards aren't very exciting. It really tries to toe this line of being very serious while also being playful, and it doesn't really do a great job of either one of those. I think at the point that we got to, I said this in our group chat on Discord before this, like, you just got to slap Vin Diesel's face on something and call it family at this point. Like,
disappointed
we can't.
There wasn't a family mechanic, I'll be honest with you.
There had to be something, right? Like, right? Exactly. Like, we're too deep into
Mario
putting hats on
and
characters.
The blue shell. You got to have something.
Yes. Like, where are we at with this? We like just find the line. Like, I don't care where the line is, just stick to it. Like, yeah, you can't have your characters walking around like the Terminator, and then there's also Koopas in the same building.
Yep.
Emma, what about you?
Pretty forgetful for me. Granted, I have a different lens to this stuff because I have to cover the sets for TCG Player. It felt really forgetful for me just because the whole death racing thing was just not something that I am like gravitated to. I think my biggest criticism of Aetherdrift, there is no magic, like literal magic. It's all things on wheels. It also felt like it was cool that we went to Avishkar, formerly Kaladesh, which is great. That whole rebrand and world building was great. I'm glad they did it. It just felt like Kaladesh, as in the Magic set, really tempered what Aetherdrift was going to be. So we didn't see any really powerful vehicles. We saw vehicles, but nothing that's like, cool, I really want to play this in Standard. There wasn't like a Smuggler's Copter or a Sky Sovereign. Just like anything just to like pull away and be like, this is really cool. I think most people just see like stock up in the Verge lands as like the breakaway, and that's not really good advertisement of the set because no vehicles. There's no cool pilots.
There's not even like a Parhelion 2 of something that's like really funny or memey or bomby or something.
It felt really safe just given what Kaladesh did all those years ago, and that I can totally respect because designing for artifacts is really hard. Wizards have said this before. But personally, it was a big miss for me. It felt very Unfinity coded to me. It was a bit goofy. A lot of like the art direction was very colorful and bright and silly, which I tend to associate with unsets. But that might be just because I'm an enfranchised Magic player. I've seen a lot of sets, I've seen a lot of theming, and it felt very Unfinity pilled, which didn't give me a lot of confidence. Also, can we talk about these first place foils and how terrible they are?
I was going to pick them all for my least favorite card of the set, and I was like, no, that's such a cop-out. I'll just pick one, but...
like...
It's like, it seemed like such a cool concept to me when I, like, heard about it and saw it. It's like, oh, cool, gold foil cards. But it's like, the color is not gold.
People call them PP cards. I don't want to play with those.
Exactly. The color, like, you look at them online, and they look better than they IRL than they do online, but it's not much better.
I had such a Mandela effect with those cards because the first look of Aetherdrift was done on Weekly MTG, and there's like, here, these first place foils, don't they look great? Every Magic ambassador for Aetherdrift posting on Blue Sky and Twitter consecutively going, how amazing are these first place foils? They don't look great, the graphic render's bad, but here's a picture of one. And I was just scrolling down, it's like 10 in a row, and I'm like, am I missing something here? Like, I understand you need to get your bread. I totally respect it. But it's just like, am I missing something? Am I going insane by not being impressed here? Like, I just didn't really get it. And I've seen one in person and they still don't grab me. Also, there's been like inventory issues with those because people don't know if they're borderless or not, because how are you supposed to tell? They're just yellow.
I've been video editing a lot with Aetherdrift cards lately, obviously, and this is the same problem I run into all the time. It is really hard to differentiate these things between the first place foils and even like the graffiti giants look almost the exact same as them. Yeah, like
special guests are borderless technically, and it's like, are they? How can I tell? They're just yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and then I forget what art the like the Ratfink art style cards are also like they're ones with yellow backgrounds and they look the exact same as the other ones.
Not impressed by those, but I can also understand Wizards just has to do the thing that Hasbro kind of tells them to do, and it's clear that they just have to do unique foilings with every set. You're seeing it with Tarkir with the dragon foils, but they actually look good.
Yeah, the dragon foils look good. I think they're pretty sick.
They look good, but they're not also oversaturated. There's no point having a unique foiling if you can get like 70 cards of the same treatment.
Yeah. And the framework that Justine Jones did with the dragon wing framing, those look
very good,
just really, really beautiful.
But yeah, Aetherdrift in general, it felt like Karlov Manor to me. It feels really forgetful to the point where people are going to be surprised when some cards jump up to like $20 next year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely agree. I think like I came away from this set just kind of like disappointed because I spent a lot of time on the air. I know, as everyone listening knows, really being excited about this set because Death Race is one of my favorite types of media out there. I thought this set could be a lot of fun. The early stuff they showed off looked super sick. And because it was like, oh, here are all these death racing teams. Here are all these pictures of people death racing. Here is this. Here, here's the really cool uncommon car for every faction. And it's like, cool. Yeah, this is all coming together. And then the set came out and it was just like, I think forgettable is the right word for me.
Which is a shame because you never want a Magic set to feel forgettable when people have put all this work in, but it just didn't land. It felt like Hot Wheels and I just miss Magic.
It wasn't even like, I think like Murders falls into the same space. Like I think like Outlaws and for some people like Duskmourn are rememberable because they saw the theming and it was like almost like not offensive to them, but
people only remember Duskmourn because the cards are powerful. They couldn't care about the theme. The cards were like super powerful in that standard set. They're seeing play now. You got like Kaito and all the enchantments and all the enduring and the overlords. Like, if it wasn't spooky, people would still play those cards because they're powerful and people will override themes if the cards are busted. It's like why people buy Modern Horizon stuff because the cards are busted. Doesn't care if it's got like a Hello Kitty on it or whatever. Like if it does a really busted thing, people will buy it.
Yeah, you'd probably be less likely to see a lot of like casual decks that are themed around like haunted houses with a lot of Duskmourn cards or something like that.
It's like a very specific audience is really into that and everyone else and like that is kind of how Murders felt and that is kind of how Aetherdrift has felt. Like the theming is just like it's theoretically really cool, but the execution just kind of ended up being like and therefore it is forgettable. And you just like look at the whole set and it's just a bunch of people on cars.
I just wish we could go back to Amonkhet properly. I wish you got a whole set.
Same with Avishkar. Like I think that ended up actually maybe being my biggest disappointment, which is like a lot of because of how much nostalgia I have for some specific standard sets and stuff, but Avishkar and Amonkhet are two planes that I like a lot. And if this is going to be our return to them for the foreseeable future, getting some really shallow glances at them around the edges of a really weird hat set, then I will be disappointed by that.
There's also, you can get some frustration out of that because it's like, because there's so many Magic sets that are like Universes Beyond and they have to fill these holes with Universes Beyond sets. It feels like they have to wedge all the in-Magic planes into like one set with like 4 different environments. And that kind of sucks, let's be honest. That isn't great.
No, that's kind of my fear. I would hate to see a future where like maybe not our consumption in total, but like if that's how we're going to like relegate returning to different planes, it's like, we'll stuff them all on the same thing and there'll be some sort of like Avengers Endgame battle.
I hope this is not a trend. I hope we don't get another like a set like this next year that is just like, we'll shove Alara and some other bits together because the Omen Paths exists. We can do that. And it's like, well, you're just missing out on free Magic sets that people would love to return to at the expense of Universes Beyond.
Mm-hmm. Well, all of that said, I think it's time for us to move on to talking about a couple specific cards, starting with a very positive category, each of our favorite cards. So we each of us have brought a favorite card from this set, and we're each going to talk a little bit about why. Mine is from the Commander set, and it is Stride Hanger Automaton. That is a 3-drop artifact creature construct. It says Thopters you control get +1/+1, and if one or more artifact tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying are created instead. It's a 1/4. These kind of cards are just really randomly up my alley. I think this card is fun. I like the design a lot.
Are you a Thopter guy?
I kind of am a Thopter guy. I kind of am specifically a Thopter guy, I think.
Cal would love Retrofit Foundry.
Oh, yeah.
I am a big Retrofitter fan.
Oh, yeah. I'm kind of a Thopter guy, and I like effects like this, which like help end, I'm thinking about this through Commander, obviously, help end Commander games. Like this, if you're making tokens, this gives you a bunch of 2/2 flyers too. That ends a Commander game really quick. It's a fun effect. And also, I have started playing this card in several CEDH decks already to great effect in my realm of the world. This plus Warren Soul Trader, which is 3-drop, 2/3, pay a life, sacrifice a creature, make a treasure token. You can combine that plus this to get treasure tokens equal to your life total -1. And that can, because you sacrifice a Thopter, make a treasure token. Oh, you are making an artifact token? Cool. Make that treasure plus a Thopter. Sacrifice that Thopter. Yeah, it's really cool. It's really fun. I've done that in a couple different CDH decks already. I don't know if it's good. It's probably specifically good in like Marnius Calgar, where all of those treasure tokens, when made, also draw you a card.
Good in Korvold.
Good in Korvold. You heard it here, folks.
Good in Korvold.
Korvold is so back. So
yeah.
And I also do. I think the art is really fun. I've been a complete and total sucker for all of the art that prominently features Avishkar in this set. Just because I've always really enjoyed the aesthetics of it, and this has some great art to that effect. But that is my favorite card. Dan, what about you?
Mine is, of course, a cop-out. I got stock up. Somebody had to bring up stock up.
Okay, vintage cubehead.
I know.
Oh, vintage player.
Honestly, like you asked us to think of our favorite one. I was like, I don't remember if Stock Up is in that set, but if it is, it's definitely that one. Yeah, Stock Up, really fantastic card. 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Put 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So yeah, if you can imagine Dig Through Time being about half as powerful and costing half as much, and therefore being about like right on par as being as powerful, yeah, you can imagine Stock Up being pretty good. It's just honestly like it's a really great card for pulling together all sorts of different decks. Is really great in Vintage Cube, obviously, but yeah, it like pulls together your combo decks. It pulls together your like more grindy oriented decks that are just trying to find specific pieces and get rid of your lands and things like that. Just yeah, a really fantastically powerful card.
Everyone kind of underlooked it as well during previews, and it was just like one of the like prominent vintage players was like, "Yeah, this card's busted. You should just play it."
Yeah, Justin Gennari has been really hot on it, and it just, to put it in his words, it does exactly what you want strong cards to do, where you're making a lot of mana. It converts mana into really good cards.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's just like one of those cards that probably got like quietly spoiled by someone or put out in the card dump at the end of spoiler season or whatever. And a lot of people, as invested Magic players, we kind of have frameworks in our mind of how cards work and that kind of stuff. And so a lot of people were just like skimming through the set. Oh, a 3-drop sorcery, look at the top 5 cards. You probably like put a 1 into your hand or whatever. Okay, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then like, it's one of those cards that the first time I cast Stock Up, I was like, holy moly. Okay, this card's insane. Cards. Yes.
Just having it cast against me the first time I saw it, I was like, whoa, I wish I had that card in my deck right now. That I wish I was doing what they were doing.
Yep, exactly. So it's just like, it like reads a little. You're like, okay, look at the top 5, put 2 of them in your hand. Okay, cool. 3 mana. I don't know. That's pretty strong. That's pretty expensive.
It is quite like expensive for most internal formats. Yeah,
it's like a divination, but you get to look at stuff. You're not too sure. It's just like, it's insane.
If I'm not going to pick a cop-out answer, another card that I have been having a lot of fun with playing in the casual commander queues on MTGO is Samut the Driving Force. 3 in Naya for a 4/5 human warrior cleric. First strike, vigilance, haste. Has start your engines, and other creatures you control get +X/+O, where X is your speed, and non-creature spells cost X less to cast, where X is your speed. Just enables really incredibly powerful stuff. I just play like a bunch of artifact ramp and like Coveted Jewel, and you go the heck off, and you can like draw your entire deck on like turn 6. It's really wild.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Sounds very fun.
It's not fun for other people. I don't ever want to play it in person. I only play it like in the anonymous queues on MTGO because like It's not nice. I get to turn 6 and I just start going off if no one's killed me yet.
Sure. All right, Emma, what's your favorite card from the set?
So mine is Bright Glass Gear Hulk. So it's 2 green, 2 white for a 4/4 with first strike and trample. When this creature enters, you may search your library for up to 2 artifact, creature, and or enchantment cards with mana value 1 or less. You reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle. I was a big fan of the Gear Hulks back in Kaladesh, the set.
So good.
And it's really cool that they came back, and they have, as you said, when you're looking at the art set, it's got that very Avishkar, Kaladesh original set feel, and this just has really cool art. Also, the card is sick. I've been playing it in Highlander, and it's really, really fun because it gets stuff like Esper Sentinel. It gets like like a Soul Ring. It gets like a bunch of stuff passively. Also, it's just like a first strike with trample. That is just like a really like powerful set of keywords on like a 4/4.
It is. Mm-hmm. It is obviously like white, green is a very restrictive casting cost, but 4 mana, get a 4/4 first strike trampler, aka never loses in combat ever, and it would only be better if like first strike death touch, or that's about as better as a keyword combo as it gets. And then you draw 2 cards that you get to tutor when it enters the battlefield. Hello,
it gets Thraben Inspector.
I see someone get Black Lotus and LED with it, and I was like, all right,
Inspector?
We're cooking.
It's great.
Thraben Inspector. What else could you need?
Also, it's just like great with. It's also great with effects like Ephemerate, which are very common, especially in like Commander as well as Canlander. When I first saw this, like, I'm playing this card. This card is just right up my alley. As like a green-white card, it feels very flavorful.
Definitely. It's a very cool choice, Emma. Good job.
Thanks.
I hereby declare both of you guys cool, because you both chose cool cards.
Rad.
Now, let's move on to talking about our least favorite cards. I'm sure we can have a range of reasonings for why these are our least favorite cards. Unfortunately, mine is the Aether Spark.
That is surprising.
This is a 4-drop legendary artifact planeswalker equipment that reads, as long as the Aether Spark is attached to a creature, the Aether Spark can't be attacked and has, whenever equipped creature deals combat damage during your turn, put that many loyalty counters on the Aether Spark. +1, attach the Aether Spark to up to 1 target creature you control. Put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. -5, draw 2 cards. -10, add 10 mana of any one color. I will say, we're going to get to the favorite art section of the show later. This Donato Giancola art for the Aether Spark is probably like my runner-up for the set. It is a beautiful card. Holy moly, is this the most over-designed mess of a shoving together different concepts that technically exist in Magic the Gathering that I have ever seen in my life. It is so aesthetically offensive to me that I cannot stand to look at it. I keep having to hear my favorite like cube podcasters talk about how awesome it is in their cube, and I go, okay, I guess I'm never playing that cube ever again.
I've really enjoyed it with Stoneforge Mystic. So.
It's really
no!
It's so unexciting how good the card is. You're like, yeah, you can cast it with Fisher's Workshop, and it like once you get the ultimate, you can cast any card in your hand, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, this is a planeswalker. You attach it to someone. It's an equipment that just keeps pumping up the guy it's on, and when you need to, it draws some cards. I don't like it.
It's cool that Wizards have tried it.
Yes,
it's a very unique thing that they've tried, and it's probably not something they're going to do again. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's not a great execution. I mean, like you said, thematically, if we're thinking, if this is what the Ether Spark, which is the thing that makes you a planeswalker in Magic lore, if this is like the abilities that gives you, it's, I don't know. It's either not fantastical enough, or it, like you said, it's a little bit too random. It just doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't like succeed in what it sets out to do, I think.
All right. Yeah. So that's what I have to say about the Aether Spark. A little too harsh, maybe, but I think it's just like this weird amalgamation of every single weird card type imaginable to create something that is net Rizless.
That's so true. I think that's honestly the most apt way to describe that. Is truly lacking any amount of Riz or charisma. Just
net Rizless
at all.
And speaking of net Rizless, Dan, what is your least favorite card?
Buddy.
I was talking about your card pick, not you.
Okay.
So what's going on with the shade?
Speaking of Rizless, let's go to Dan. No, I meant the card.
My pick for least favorite card is Full Throttle. That is double red and 4 for a sorcery. So after this main phase, there are 2 additional combat phases at the beginning of each combat this turn. Untap all creatures that attack this turn. I think this like tripling things that normally happen once is just the laziest design space of all time to me. I'm so unenthused by the Nyxbloom Ancients, etc. of the world. Just like, at what point do we get to the ceiling of these effects? You're right.
Never.
Like doubling is one thing, tripling is another thing. But once we get like, there's going to be a card, obviously somewhere down the line that quadruples something, and we're going to move past that even at some stage too. I've just got no love for the double, triple effects. It doesn't make for interesting gameplay.
Yeah.
I think my biggest problem with Full Throttle is that you need to be ahead for it to work. It's really bad when you're behind. And I do respect the fact that it can actually end games of Commander, which are things that need to happen in my opinion. Like, but yeah, if you're behind and you draw this, it's basically a dead card. It doesn't really do a lot. Rewards you for being ahead.
Yeah, I'd much rather cast like an insurrection effect.
Yeah, you have to be ahead, and then like it costs 6 mana, and if you're ahead and it resolves, you'll probably like win the game. I mean, I have thought about ever since the release of the Mardu Tarkir deck, I've been kind of
that looks real good, by the way.
I've been kind of thinking about putting it together because I love Tarkir. I love swinging at people in casual Commander games. We've talked about that a lot. Unfortunately, Full Throttle would be really good at helping me win. But I totally agree.
In a couple of my casual decks, it's just not exciting.
The design space is very unexciting. It's like a lot of people are hype about the new Elspeth. And I look at it and I'm like, ooh, 3 times the tokens. Yay.
Also really good in that Mardu precon.
It's true. It's true. Too bad it's like pre-ordering at $50 or something. Emma, what is... Emma, this pick, I thought this would be your favorite card of the set.
No, I was right on with Emma. I was straight up offended by this card when I saw it.
Yeah, me too. So the card is Hull Drifter. So it's a 3/2 vehicle, 3 generic and 2 blue. Has flying when it enters, you draw 2, and it has crew free. The biggest problem with this card is not Mull Drifter.
Yeah, like you can't evoke it, and like
you can't replace the OG. Why do we not have Mull Drifter in this set? It could go through one Omen Path. It could be on a Vishkar.
Well, I think the real problem with having Hull Drifter in this set is that you can crew stuff with it while it's like being evoked, I think.
I'm just
But
like,
still, I'm with
just
you.
give me the
rebrand.
original. Come on,
Yeah,
like
just put Mole Drifter
we're
in
just
every
gonna
damn
get
set.
different versions of Mole Drifter. We're gonna go back to like Ravnica. We'll get like Null Drifter or something. Or we had Null Drifter from like Modern Horizons, but we could have like Thrall Drifter or something. So just give me the original. Like, let me play with that card in Standard again.
There
Going back
should
to
be
Lorwyn
some-
next year, so hopefully.
There should be some discounted cost on it if you're going to evoke the name Mole Drifter, in my mind.
It just like, I get what they were trying to do, but please make it standard playable.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think it really just like drives home to how not even how bad, but how tough of a mechanic vehicles are in general.
Yeah.
It's maybe something I could have mentioned in like the general vibes section too. It's just like the more sets they make with a lot of vehicles in it, the more it drives home to me that vehicles are definitely like a 0 to 2 cards per set. We had an extremely good idea for a vehicle type of mechanic, not a mechanic that can support 20 plus designs in a set.
It's wild because a lot of people were speculating Aetherdrift was going to be a really quick limited set because there's vehicles, there's stuff happening, but it's like, no, you have to tap up your creatures to create vehicles. If anything, it made it slower. I've heard like Aetherdrift Draft is meant to be really good because there's actually some back and forth and you kind of have to think about tapping your creatures for vehicles. The Seal's meant to be heinous for that reason, but Draft is meant to be good. But yeah, it's just like vehicles is just such a weird design space, and if you can't make super powerful vehicles, you just have this tension just from the get-go.
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of like double-sided cards where there's like you said, the natural tension of you can't make this card too good and you kind of have to make it a little bit bad. Otherwise it'll just inevitably be too good.
Yep. I definitely agree. It's maybe a kind of a fundamentally broken card type. And honestly, I wouldn't doubt if, especially after this, moving forward, we maybe just end up seeing like mounts more often. Mounts kind of feel like quote unquote fixed vehicles in that they're just pre-existing creatures that if you want to, you can mount to get upside. And that feels like a much better version of the design.
Yeah, like Caustic Bronco, for instance, really fantastic mount card. It's either Bob for you or you get to drain your opponents. But it comes nowhere near the level, obviously, of like being as strong as Smuggler's Copter, which is like, honestly, one of the only good vehicles.
Yep. So on that note, let's go ahead and move to our final little section in this retrospective, and that is each of our favorite arts from the set. I have chose maybe something a little bit of a cop-out, but I chose Aetherflux Conduit, which is also from the Aetherdrift Commander set. It's a big old 6-drop artifact. When you cast a spell, you get energy equal to the amount of mana cast the spell, and you can tap it and pay 50 energy to draw 7 cards and then cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. Don't care about that as much, but once again, I'll say it, then I said it again. I love the set Kaladesh. I love the set Aether Revolt. I love the aesthetics and the world of the plane Avishkar. And this piece of art specifically just made me go, wow, awesome. I love all the big energy. I love the energy, like the mana as electricity, Aether rather, as electricity. I love the aesthetics of the world and Aetherflux. And I always loved a lot of the art from the original 2 Avishkar sets that were just like, here's this humongous, awesome building that you're looking at. And this was a great callback to that. So it's not technically the best art in the set. It's not the most beautiful art in the set, but it was the one that just, for me, looking at it, resonated with me a lot. And so that's what I chose.
To go back to what Emma said earlier about Aetherdrift sort of like lacking magic at all, this is a card that at least like evokes the magic in Magic.
Mm-hmm. Definitely agree. Dan, what was your favorite art from the set?
I had to take a quick look before we started because honestly, there wasn't a whole lot that really stuck out to me like during my consumption of this set. But I have Atchik Emerald Radian. This is, what printing of this is
It's a borderless printing.
Yep.
Thank you, Emma.
Straight up borderless.
With art by Erica Williams. It's a really fantastic piece of art. It really like sort of evokes like sort of classical tarot art and things like that. It's pretty particular in the set. There's not a lot of other art that really looks like this in this set. So it's like a little bit out of place, I guess. But I really enjoy it a lot. It's a very intricate piece and it's very cool.
Yeah, a lot of the other borderless printings in this one ended up like very cartoony style. So this one kind of stands out amongst many of the others because it is very much not that.
It's got a lot of like Rebecca Gay feeling to it, which she's my all-time favorite Magic artist. So anything that sort of evokes that like era of Magic and Magic art in particular, I'm a big fan of.
And Emma, what about you?
So mine is the least Magic looking of the bunch. Mine's Spock Cycle Scouter, which is a common 3/2, one generic and a white vehicle with an ETB, Scry 2, and a Cruise 1. The art is by Joe Cameron. There is something about this art that just makes me scream, like, classic 70s, the sort of, like, spacey 70s kind of, like, racing. It's just really cool. The use of colors is great. The purples into the blues, into the pinks is really awesome. I could just imagine this on, like, on like a billboard for, like, an advert or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's just really cool.
This is, like, the vibe I wanted to see for the whole set.
It's very, like, retro feeling, which is kind of cool. My other one is Market Bat Walker as well by Svelin Villanov. That's a really cool one as well because you get to see like all the people inside the Walker because it's like a walking city basically.
It is very cool. It is.
They basically
very cool.
repurpose all this artillery for like walking markets, which is a really cool idea and very sort of a Vish car as well.
I do love like another entry into the Walker cycle as well, along with Walking Ballista and Hangerback Walker. Very fun. Very fun. I will also note I didn't mention the artist for my piece of art. That's on me. That is Michael Philpott, who is someone who has been doing a really random smattering of art throughout the history of Magic the Gathering. You look at their art and it's like, oh yeah, they did this Aetherflux Conduit and this Arcane Signet. And they also did Darien, King of Keldor a long time ago.
From Cold Snap?
Yeah, there's not that many pieces of art in between here and there, but it's just like, oh yeah, they have some Infinity cards and they have a Dustmorn card and also Aetherflux Conduit. So cool to see that. Well, I think unless anyone else has any more thoughts on Aetherdrift, that is the very first Harold's Horn set retrospective. Anyone? Any thoughts? No? We've said it all?
To go back to what Emma said about Cycle Scouter, I think this is sort of like the pinnacle of what I wanted the art and feeling of this set to be, because this really takes you, like you said, it's not very like based in reality. It is just a smattering of colors, but it really like takes you inside the psyche of this racer, which is what I would love to see a lot more of. In this kind of set of like, we're really getting this perspective of like the swirling lights and everything flashing by you really quickly. And it really, I think, like sells the racing portion of this in a way that so many cards in the set really don't.
I think that is very fair, Dan.
Thank you. I try to always be just and fair.
Now that we are done discussing Aetherdrift, it's time to move on to the new products. That means it is time for the Product Watch.
Product Watch!
Welcome to the Product Watch, the part of the show where we talk about upcoming sets, just releasing sets, all new Magic the Gathering products, really, that you could spend your money on if you so choose. First, of course, we get to talk about Secret Lair. Our boss is on vacation. It's kind of come and gone. I don't know. That's the name of the drop. I think they named it that because it was like full of fun and funky Secret Lair drops that you would never get to see otherwise if their boss was in or something like that. This Secret Lair was a debacle. Once again, the limited stock model continues to only create poor customer experiences. So many people were trying to buy that the like line handling software they have crashed and it was paused for a long time. And then eventually they had to restart it. And a lot of people like lost their place in line and had to get back in line. And it was a whole debacle. This is, of course, very meaningful because, there was several relatively highly hyped Secret Lairs in here, but most specifically, this was the SpongeBob Secret Lair drop. But there was a couple other cool ones in here too. I personally really liked the Twisted Toons Secret Lair, which had a really great art based on the rubber hose style of animation that was present in like early Walt Disney work, all that kind of stuff. A much more recent comparison is the video game Cuphead. That's a lot of people kept calling it the Cuphead Secret Lair. It had some CDH playable cards. I really like the art style. I was hoping for that, but I was not dealing with that line. I said, if it is still available at 9 p.m., I will buy it. Go figure. Not available at 9 p.m. Anyone else? Dan, you got your SpongeBob, right?
Yes, I am a loser, and I waited in that line all damn day long. And it really was an emotional roller coaster of them being like, you're in line. You're going to be here for an hour, and here's your estimated time that you'll be in the store. And then all of a sudden the screen just changes and it said, hey, everything is messed the heck up and we don't know what to do. And I love that it said go to the Secret Lair X account to like see updates on it. And so I was like, okay, let's see what these updates are. Nothing. They didn't tweet anything all day long about it. At least up to the point that I was checking when I like finally got to buy my Secret Lairs at like 5 p.m. Eastern after they had been on sale for roughly like 4 or 5 hours. And at that point, they had not made any mention on any of their social websites about the thing being down at all.
Classic. Gotta love it.
Yep.
Gotta love it. Emma, I know you were right in line for those SpongeBobs as well.
I was not. I honestly, I kind of forget they're on sale because I know they tend to angle more US times. I just get the emails that's just like, this is on sale. It's running out. You should buy this soon. And I'm like, whatever. I buy singles. Like,
yeah, it's fair. I would love to pick up some of these singles. I'm interested to see if they end up actually being like affordable for me or not. Like, I would love the Calling Ritual. I would love the Silence.
I know the one with the Kalia sold out pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. That's Secret Lair.
Twisted Romance, I think it was called.
That's it. Yes. Yeah, that one sold out very quickly.
Very cool art style.
Yeah, there was one that was like supposed to be a recreation of some Legends card. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's the one with the punk chick pulling in the guy on her bed.
Oh yeah, I don't remember what that's called, but
yeah, it's some woman's name that I can't remember.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But
yeah, cool Secret Lair, cool art styles, lots of cool picks for cards in it,
and that is one of several that were there and just gone, like nothing else. I was kind of amazed. Like, this is the first Secret Lair. As much as we rag on the limited drop model, this feels like one of the first Secret Lairs where, in a couple drops now, you know, there was like the Marvel one that was a big deal, but there's been a couple super drops in a row and normal drops where like the people, you know, if as long as you got in kind of within like a week, you weren't gonna run into any trouble, or maybe like the most, you know, desirable version of the most desirable, you know, whether it be like the foil or the non-foil version of the most desirable lair in a drop would sell out within 24 hours, which is still not great, but we haven't seen something like this in a minute, and I hope we're not just here to stay.
I was seriously like, if this is another Monty Python and the Holy Grail situation and I can't get my extremely dumb magic cards, I will legitimately be so upset. But thank God, everybody, you can cross it off your list. I got my Gracilax, aka Squidward.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the Secret Lair. I might try to pick up the Dumb Days or whatever, but you know, for now, I'm happy. Let's real quick. We're running out of time here, but let's just real quick. Let's get a temperature check on Tarkir Dragonstorm. We are now in the thick of preview season. We have seen all the commander decks. We have seen much of, but not all of the set. By the time this comes out, I believe we will be 24 hours away from the whole set dropping on the mothership. So I'm sure by the time this drops, we'll have seen basically every single card except for some random commons and uncommons. How are we feeling about it? I gotta say, this set feels awesome. I love the designs. I love individual card designs. I love the overall faction designs. I love the obvious creative direction. I love all of the special treatments. The Justine Jones dragon frame is insane. It is so cool. I love seeing all of the different dragon designs. I love seeing all the humans. I love, you know, it's a sick set. I don't know what else to say. It feels like Magic as Magic, kind of firing on all cylinders.
Agreed.
Yeah. It is a very magical set. I am very excited about the return to like a really heavily 3-color coded environment. It makes for a lot of really fun commander cards and stuff. I am flabbergasted at how powerful the dragon precons is, but it really is 2025 now. I was just thinking of like the last time we went to Tarkir and I had my Scion of the Ur-Dragon deck, and there was just like, you know, so few dragons in the world, and I was so excited. Like, we're gonna get some bangers, and we get, you know, the Dragon Lord cycle and things like that. And now these dragons are a lot more powerful than that. But yeah, overall, lots of really cool cards. The Dragon Mox Opal, very funny. Don't think it'll be that powerful, but
there's a lot of dragon coded cards in the set, and it feels like I understand Wizards need to sell packs to, especially like in a very casual audience, given like the set and the theme is very enfranchised, because Tarkir was like 10 years ago now. Heads up, Tarkir came out 10 years ago. It feels like Wizards are leaning into that, but they didn't really need to, because people will buy dragons anyway because they're dragons. So you didn't need this Coalition Victory-esque dragon enchantment. You don't need Draco Genesis. You don't need Mox Jasper. Like, you could have not printed those and the set would have still done ridiculously well, because people just love playing with dragons. And it feels like I kind of like worry for like dragon players, especially like the 5-color ones, because I think Kibler said something a little while ago. It feels very battle cruiser. Like, you don't really need to do much anymore. Like, not that you needed to do anything prior to this set, but it just feels like the strategy is just solved at this point. There's just like,
yeah, there are so many just
no
cast dragons for free, put them into play for free. Yeah,
right.
There's just not a whole lot of hurdles that you really need to jump over to get a million dragons into play at this point.
Right.
And in the line of dragons, this has me motivated to. I had the Ur-Dragon deck for forever, and I took it apart to let Jen getting into Magic. She had her hot girl moment of she needed to try her Kali of the Vast deck. She put together a Kali of the Vast deck. It's a canon event. Every single girly getting into Magic Commander, almost every single one of them. It happens. And she was like, okay, I did it. And we took it back apart. I've never put back together the Ur-Dragon, but now I want to put back together the Ur-Dragon, but with like all of these like uncommon guys from Tarkir, just full Tarkir Dragon Storm and like original Tarkir Dragons. That's what I want to do. It's a Tarkir deck.
You definitely need to do something thematic, I think, because you're going to have the Sliver problem and the Eldrazi problem that's happened with Modern Horizons 3 and Commander Masters lately. They're all going to look the same, and they're just going to be everywhere at your local tables, and it's just not going to be fun to play against. I intended to build like a dragon deck that's just monocolored, like mono red, just like have this color restriction, like 2-color maybe, a 3-color no, but like 2-color might be a fun thing to do, because it just gives you that restriction, because you can't lump every dragon win condition into a random deck.
That was my thought, is at this point like a mono green dragons deck would be kind of fun. There's like
I was thinking mono red, but
there's a lot of good mono red ones too. And not to mention that if you're not too like married to specifically Tarkir, there's also so many good cheap dragons in Baldur's Gate that are like mana dorks and other things that really help you power out the bigger stuff.
Just
really
don't play
cool
Miriam, and then that's fine.
Oh, I know.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm sure I could figure out another cool different 5-color, or like 5-color is what I'm attracted to, but it's because I just want to play all the dragons.
This is kind of like the first set I've been tempted to pick up a precon as well, which hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah.
Like the Abzan precon is pretty good. This toughness matters theme is just like not done a lot, and it's kind of worth exploring. So I might pick that one up.
And I think like the sacrifice and draw cards aspect of it too makes it a little bit more interesting than the previous like Dorans.
There is a bit of tension just because you want your commander to attack, because 5 commander damage when it attacks is pretty good, and defenders don't normally come with the vigilance, because why would they? They're defenders. They're not going to attack. So you need to really think about, am I doing the sacrifice draw a card stuff with the high toughness, or am I just like booty aggro? Am I just going to just do a load of commander damage? There is some tension there, but it's a cool design.
It has been really fun hearing everyone's opinions specifically on the commander decks too, because every single person I talk to is like excited about a different one. Like, you're really excited about the Abzan one. Dan, I assume you're really excited about the Temur one.
Excited might be an overstatement, but it looks really cool.
Never enough. I'm really excited about the Mardu one.
The Mardu one looks real good.
Yeah.
But I just want to kill people. I just want to attack people. I just want to kill them with my little army of 1/1s. What can you do about it? I'm putting impact tremors in it. You lose the game.
I was going to say, I can etherize your 1/1s, but I can't etherize your impact tremors.
I lose! I'm going to complain about you online.
No.
And then I will be the one winning in the end. So, hey, that's Tarkir Dragonstorm. I'm sure we can take a little bit of a closer look at her next week. But for now, we are basically out of time. My beloved co-hosts, do either of you have anything else to leave our listeners with? Let's start with Emma.
Yeah, screw daylight savings time.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother.
Yep. Anything from you, Dan?
No. Go check out my YouTube channel. I just put up a new gameplay episode. Rate the podcast 5 stars and leave us a comment. It's really helpful on whatever platform you're on. Helps us boost us in the algorithm and stuff like that. And thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this episode of The Herald's Horn. See you on Tuesday as we start our very first theme month for interviews, Vorthos month. I will be joined by the one and only Carrie, Magic the Gathering archivist, and for those who know, prolific Magic the Gathering shitposter as well. It's a great interview about how hard it is to get into the Magic the Gathering story and what we maybe can do to fix that. Thanks so much for listening. We will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching and listening. As I already said, be sure to come back on Tuesday to watch the first ever themed interview of the Herald's Horn. We are starting off Vorthos month in April, and the first interview is with the one and only Carrie. Be sure to come back for that. You won't want to miss it. Beyond that, as always, we will be here next Thursday. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Bye-bye.